Welcome to the Actually You Can podcast. I'm Miff Galloway, a performance coach passionate about supporting ambitious and high-performing women just like you who know they have untapped potential just waiting to be unleashed. If you're looking to massively uplevel your performance in all areas of life, you've come to the right place. My goal on this podcast is to take you beneath the surface so you can connect with yourself on a deeper level while providing you with valuable insights and the tools necessary to navigate life's challenges and go after your goals with strength, clarity, and wisdom. If you're ready to uncover the truth which lies underneath so you can recognize your powerful feminine leadership style, pursue your goals unapologetically, and thrive in every aspect of your life, hit the follow button and get ready to explore the incredible possibilities that lie within you. Together, we'll uncover your next steps in achieving peak performance, because actually, you can.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Actually You Can. In this week's episode, I'm talking self-care for ambitious women with Ana Salido. Ana is a seasoned counselor and relationship expert with a background helping high-achieving women embrace their feminine essence to be a better leader and find balance and fulfillment in work and life. Ana's approach focuses on mindset shifts, mindfulness practices, and effective communication strategies, and we delve into all of this in our conversation. If you're struggling to prioritize self-care, then this one is for you, my dear. Let's get into it. Hi, Ana. Welcome to the show. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Hi, Maeve. Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here with you today.
And so I want to ask you, why do women find it so hard to prioritize themselves? What are they prioritizing instead?
Oh, straight into the topic. I love it. Why is it so hard? Such a good question. I would say for me, it comes, from, not to blame anyone here, that's not what we're here for, but it comes from, education for a lot of us. When you start, from your childhood, when it's all about, I don't know if you heard that, but I know I did, like be nice, be nice, meaning, self-sacrifice, be there for others. And when, at some stage, maybe it's going to be about you. But the seed, is just planted, it's there. And then we wonder why as grown-up women, it's just so hard for us to look after ourselves. But when from an early stage, it was all about being nice. These days, I say to my clients, stop being nice, be kind. You will see your life is going to change.
What's the difference between nice and being kind?
Well, the difference is huge. At least for me, being nice, there is that idea once again of self-sacrificing. It's like do something, be nice. You might not want to do it, but be nice. When on the other hand, for me, being kind, it's like it gives you the opportunity to say no and to not to justify yourself, but to have boundaries in place in a healthy way. And you still do it in a kind way. Because there is no need to be mean. It's not about that. But one gives you that opportunity and the other one doesn't. For me, that's the main difference.
I had never thought of it like that. That reframe is so powerful. And so if we're not prioritizing ourselves, what are women prioritizing instead? What excuses or justifications are we giving ourselves to not prioritize our own needs?
Oh, it goes from, I don't want to be selfish, or from, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what I want. I hear all the time, I don't have time. All of that. And when I say for me, I don't have time, then when I ask my clients to say it in a way, it's like, it's not like you don't have time. You're not a high priority enough in your own life. If you say it like this, you will see the impact is going to be different. And then, I've got women, they stop, they look at me, and then I say, just say it out loud. You're going to see the feeling. You're just going to feel it in your body. You're saying that you're not a priority, not enough. That's huge.
Are you struggling to reach your goals?
Good mental health and physical health are the foundation of success. We often think we need to make drastic changes, but these can leave us feeling discouraged and stuck. The truth is, sustainable transformation happens through small, consistent actions taken over time. This is why I've created a list of over 40 strategies and activities that can help you to achieve the transformation you've been dreaming of without overwhelming changes. The strategies involve simply changing the way you approach common tasks, and many of the actions can be done in less than 5 minutes. So don't let feeling overwhelmed hold you back from committing to improving your mental and physical health. Download your guide for free using the link in the show notes and start your journey to optimal mental and physical health today. Now back to the show. Yeah, I think it's like with anything, like I do a lot of work with clients and goal setting. They go, oh, I think I should achieve this goal. And my question to them is it a priority for you right now? They go, no. Then I'm like, why should you prioritize it if it's not important to you at the moment? Why does it have to be a goal? But when you look at it like yourself, I mean, if you're not important, then what the hell is?
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know it's a cliche to say it like this, maybe, but we can't pour from an empty cup. We just can't do it. And then, there is that domino effect. We don't look after ourselves, so we are a bit short, we are exhausted. So the way you show up at work, so for high achieving women, like you, myself, the women we work with, it's really important, so you don't show up the best way you can. If you have kids, you are really short with them. You feel like you're not the best mom you can. You do it with your partner, you do it with your family. You know what I mean? It's just the snowball when at the end of the day, when you look after yourself, then you can show up. You can be there. You can be there for anyone else, everyone else. But it starts with us. So then there is that snowball, so the less we feel like we are ourselves and we can, it's always like, oh, I could do better. I was a bit short with my kids, it's not fair. So, we start over giving. But then we are, we are on negative already for ourselves. So it's just, it keeps increasing the negativity of it pretty much.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds so simple. Like, you need to fill your own cup so you can give to others. And yet I still find a lot of really ambitious women, they go, yes, I get that, but their actions are completely contradictory. Ambitious women are typically juggling a lot of plates and they don't really consider themselves when they're juggling those plates. So how would you speak to someone who's like, yes, logically, I understand I need to look after myself, but I have goals that I have to achieve. I have responsibilities. How would you have a conversation with that woman about the importance of looking after themselves?
Over time, I learned that with high achieving women, we need to speak the same language. So what I've learned, when I was coming more from, the feminine side of it, which is where, you just go back to being yourself and being a woman and all of that. When you've got goals and things to do, it's like, well, it's a burden, like I've got things to do. So I had to change the language and start talking the same language as them, but going towards that, which is, oh, you want to be more efficient? You want to reach your goal? Yeah, that's amazing. But you want to talk about efficiency? Yeah, amazing. Would you expect your car to go from A to B with no fuel in the car? No, it wouldn't make any sense. Well, that's what you're asking your body to do. So, it's a changing, coming from a place of, yes, it has to be done. It's not weak to look after myself. I'm not weak. I'm not less of anyone, especially men, comparing, ourselves or, anything like this. It's not about that. It has to be done. And, once you start realizing that, talking about you want to be more efficient, that's what you're going to have to do. Because if your body makes the decision for you to stop, it's going to be really unpleasant and it's not going to be efficient. And then, they start realizing like, yeah, right. Okay. I start seeing where you're going. What can I do? But they need to see the point of doing it. Because if it's just, the self-care as we see it, in the, on Instagram when everything is amazing and, having a bath and I'm all about that, don't get me wrong. But straight away, for them, it goes to, I don't have time.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And especially I love how you mentioned to speak their language. I know if you said to me like, "Oh, if you just take time to relax, like you'll feel better and stuff like that." I don't care. Like I don't need to feel good to do things. That's one of my superpowers is I just get shit done whether I feel like it or not. And so
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate what you mean by speaking that person's language. And so from that perspective, if someone is now going, okay, I need to look after myself, how can they do it in a way that they don't feel bad at it? I had a conversation with a really good girlfriend of mine, and she's like, I've got some really big goals. I've got a plan for them. And I know I need to be taking time to myself, but I feel really bad. Like one of her goals is to have a 60-minute coffee date with either herself or a friend a week. And she's like, I don't know how I can feel good about this. Like I feel really, really guilty because I feel like I should be working. If I have any time, I should be working my business. I should be spending it with my family. How do you work with clients and managing the emotion of guilt when it comes to looking after self?
For me, it starts with the mindset. Because if, we have that idea, attached that looking after myself is bad, how on earth we're gonna be like, you know what? Yes, I'm just gonna do it anyway. Knowing that in the background, we still I have the idea of, be a good girl and be nice. On top of that, add, over the years, with the should and shouldn't do, what I mean, all of these stories that we create. Of course, for plenty of women, it's like, oh, well, no, the guilt is just too high. I can't do it. So for me, there is a huge mindset shift that needs to be done before they can actually start looking after themselves. There is, coming from how do you see looking after yourself now and where would you like to be? What in the future? We live in a perfect world. What does that look like? How do you feel? How do you want to see it in your life? How do you, what does that look like in your life? Because I always say to the women I work with, self care for me might not be the same as it is for you. It is completely fine. It's normal. It doesn't matter. All I want is for you to find what it looks like in your life because it needs to fit into your reality. If you said to me, I'm a single woman, it's all about my job, like, okay, fine, absolutely. But it's not going to fit the same way as when I work with a woman that's got 3 kids, a partner, and a dog at home. Do you know what I mean? It's like it can't be done. It's just, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah. And I think what I hear in that as well is a lot of people, for example, if their life is busy and it is full, they can't see the time to do any self care. So they just don't even start. They go, well, I don't have time. My question to that would be, how much time do we need? Like if someone goes, I don't have time, how would you navigate that conversation?
That's a really good question. I love it because for me these days, it took me a while to reach that point. And when I say a while, I'm not even, it's not years, but full honesty, it took me a while because these days with my practice, my tools and everything like this, sometimes I just even need, 5 or 10 minutes. So for me, that's where for me the time thing now, it's not even an excuse anymore. Because, when you learn, for instance, how to regulate your emotions, your breathing, your nervous system, you are so busy at work, you're underwater, everything is coming at you and you feel it inside, you're just buzzing. You can't even think, when you know how to step back, focus on your breathing, no one needs to know in the office. You can just do it and no one is gonna even notice. Do you know what I mean? But it takes practice. It takes, like the willingness even just to give it a try. But once again, it's a mindset thing because at the beginning I was like, oh, come on, like if it was going to change my life. Not changing your life, it's changing how you react to it. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing when you're saying that too is like, I think for a lot of people and myself included, it's like, hey, I need to schedule time in my diary for self-care. It sounds like self-care can actually be an attitude and a way you go about life. Like you don't go, hey, I've got to schedule 5 minutes of self-care right now to do breathing exercises before my next meeting. It could just be you're in the middle of a stressful situation. You take some deep breaths. Next minute, that is you taking care of self.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So see, it's all about the mindset, how we see self-care. If once again, self-care is a burden with something you have to do on your to-do list that is just another chore, the have to. even just the heaviness of saying it, oh, I have to look after myself. Well, like, it's not really, so you're busy already. You don't necessarily have time, or you think you don't. Of course, it's just gonna, stay at the bottom of your to-do list. It's an attitude, as you
Yeah,
said. I think
especially
it's
when he
also a vibe. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, especially when he said, "I have to do something." As soon as I say the word "I have to," it's like another thing on my to-do list, as opposed to if I want to, or I wanna take care of myself today. Like, who the fuck doesn't wanna take I mean, there's a lot of people who wouldn't say it out loud, but their actions are saying, "I don't want to take care of myself today."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so how did you end up in this space? How did you end up supporting high achieving women to help prioritize themselves without feeling guilty? What was your journey?
So my journey, it started, with me working in France in a really stressful environment, mainly with men. I was, 10 years younger than I am now. So, only 25. It was a lot, and that's where for me, it was all about, go, go, go. I even started, because I was just with men and, you're only 25, you receive comments on how you're dressed up today and this and that. So then you start changing, almost who you are because you need to fit. Oh, I thought, that I had to fit into that environment, to get respect, to get the respect, to get all sort of things. So for me, it started like this. And then after 12 months, I was like, okay, that's enough for me. I can't keep doing that. It's just that it doesn't make any sense. Then that's when I came to Australia. And then the journey started because in here, it was like no one had expectation on me. Absolutely no one. It was just me, myself, and I. And that was huge because I discovered myself in a way that, I never knew, it was there. So that was pretty amazing. So, of course, for 2 years, once again, full honesty, 2 years, when you've got, it's all about traveling, partying, meeting people, and it, of course, it's an amazing experience. And then that's where I started. Okay, now I want to stay here in Australia. What do I do? So for my background and everything like this, started doing counseling, and then the relationship counseling. And then over the years, seeing women, and hearing the same thing. There was not a week when I didn't hear, I'm exhausted. I feel guilty, the decision fatigue, I've got, what I mean? I don't know where to start. And then I've seen women as well, completely. So to raise their kids, they stop their career, and then it's like, well, now, I don't know who I am anymore. And so that's why, more and more my focus, started being, on women and now high achieving women and on but on the women to seriously go back to themselves, wherever you are, whatever you do, you're a stay-at-home mom, you're high achieving women, you are, somewhere in the middle, you are whatever that is, go back to yourself. Because all these women's, at the end of the day, the main theme is, well, I focus on one aspect of my life, but then me as a person, well, I would like to meet that person again.
Yeah. And it's like you start life with a backpack, and then over the course of life, through all your experiences, you start putting things in the backpack. And then next minute, your backpack's really full and heavy and it's weighing you down. And we don't actually
Oh,
think
yeah.
that, hey, for a moment, I could take off this backpack and choose what I pick up again. It sounds like that's what you're talking about when you say go back to yourself. It's like we've accumulated
Yeah.
all these things that we should be, all these identities we've taken on, all these rules and structures that we feel like we must fit into, but we haven't actually taken the time to question them and go, what role do these play in my life today? Because they served a role at some point, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. And what I've, and so at the end of the day, I was gonna say, but it really depends on where you're at. But it's must, women, what I see is women between, early 30, and 40, 45, that's really the range of women, that I see, in my office or now, coming, being on Zoom with them when it's like, well, Anna, I've ticked all the boxes, for many years, but now, that needs to stop. And I really want, I need some help because once again, I don't even know where to start.
And yeah, it's interesting that age group specifically. I work with a lot of people in a similar age group. And what I'm seeing as well with some of that population is they've created a life, for example, that isn't ideal. Like I know someone who gets up quite early in the morning. Their alarm is for 3:30, and they go to the gym at that time because that's the time that they can go to the gym before their child wakes up, and they spend the rest of the day working, all that sort of stuff. And 3:30 is early. Like, it's early for anyone. I mean, there's a lot of people who go 5 a.m. club, like that sort of stuff. But 3:30 is quite early when you have to work a full day and you have family and stuff. And this person has said that, "Oh, it's not too bad. It's just how I can get everything done." It's almost like they convince them that even though it's not optimal for their health and optimal for their self-care, they've convinced themselves that it's not actually that bad. What would you say to someone like that, where you can feel like they're kind of engaging in potentially some self-destructive behaviors, but they've convinced themselves that it's not that bad?
Yeah, yeah, on that, it's huge because, it's almost that survival mode sort of things, but I need that to get things done, so you don't
Mm,
really allow yourself to even think or to do anything. It's like that's how it is, that's how it needs to be done. And for these kind of women, that's where
mm,
self-care, it's not even just about I don't have time. It's I'm scared of it because it means I'm gonna slow down. If I slow down, I'm gonna start thinking. If I start thinking, then you know what I mean? That's where the self, the doubt or, your inner self critic is gonna, do you know what I mean? Or start, that introspection about your life or about yourself or about, do you know what I mean? So not doing self-care as well, at some stage, it's also avoiding ourselves because we don't want to think. And if we slow down, of course, you're
mm.
going to have more time for your mind, to open up to more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I 100%. And I mean, I should say as well that, there are times where you will be in survival mode, especially with a young family, especially through busy periods of work. Survival mode is a fine place to be. I'm talking like the
Absolutely.
rest of your life. Do you want to live the rest of your life in survival mode? I know the women listening to this are like, "Yep, I can survive, but I fucking want to thrive." So that's who I'm talking about when I share this sort of
Yeah.
stuff. And I love how you mentioned that for this particular woman, they don't want to think. What do we not want to think about? What what is those thoughts that we're not allowing ourselves to think?
Oh, I think it's not. I always say to the women I work with, it's not because you can do it that you have to do it. You can do it. You can work 15 hours a day, go back to your, go back to go back home, be with whoever you live with, be who you, do you know what I mean? Have a social life and this and
Mm.
that and all of that. We know you can do it, but do you want to do it? Is that the kind of life
Yeah.
that you want? And by slowing down, I think it's really seeing, having time to seeing our lives for what it is and facing that's pretty much that's facing the reality of what we created and being like, okay, amazing, now that I am in there, am I happy? Was that what I wanted? Or it's just like over time, it's just became one more thing and another one along the way, and then you don't even realize until you reach the point where, as you said, your backpack is just that big that like, well, you know it's really heavy now. So I think that's
Yeah.
what that I think that's why it's really hard for, and I can think of a woman, specifically as well. And I know for her, it was all about that, it was about the fear of her own thoughts, being on her own as well, her own, company. So you just
Mm.
keep yourself busy as well, because then once again you don't need to think.
That reminds me of something I read. I think it was legitimate. I'll have to look at and actually see if it was legitimate study. But I heard that there was some experiment that got conducted with men and women, and the options were to receive a series of electric shocks or sit with our own thoughts for 15 minutes. 60% of men chose to get the electric shocks, and 40% of women chose to get the electric shots rather than sit for 15 minutes with their own thoughts. What's your thoughts on
Yeah.
that? Let's say
Well,
hypothetically it's true.
I'm not I'm not even surprised because these days, and I know once again, I'm all about honesty, so it's not about pretending, it's I think once we start that work on ourselves, it's a work in progress, it's a life journey thing, but I'm still guilty of it, these days, depending on where I'm at, the stress and what's happening in my life. But look at yourself. If you go, I don't know, you go and meet a friend of yours, that person is late. What are you gonna do? Straight away, you grab your phone. And then you scroll on social, you check your I do. At least I'm gonna talk about myself. I'm gonna scroll on social media. I'm gonna check my emails. I'm just gonna do things. When I catch myself doing that now, it's just like, no, no. Like 15 years ago, you didn't have a phone, you survived, you were just so now. I'm just like, okay, you look around, you just do whatever, you think about whatever, but you don't touch your phone. Do you know what I mean? Even just that's what we do straight away. How crazy.
Yeah, and I caught myself doing that too. Like I'm notorious for always liking to have some sort of noise in the background. Like when I'm working, I love music, or anything like that. And I recently caught myself that, especially podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. I recently created a rule with myself where when I walk the dogs in the morning or whenever I walk the dogs, I have nothing in my ears, nothing. So, and not only has that meant I talk to my dogs a whole lot more and I interact with them on walks, but I'm so much more attentive to just the world around me. And I'm just like, you don't need to be plugged into something all of the time, and give yourself the gift of free thought.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And even, when we were talking about, time and how, just before and how to do things during the day, for me, that's the role as well, in the morning. Yes, I've got my phone, because I track, my steps and to make sure I do my 10,000, steps a day. But, I've got no, it's like no phone calls, no podcast, no music, no nothing. And it helped me, practice that mindfulness, sort of things as well when I'm just really present, playing with my dog. Now I just stop, I take pictures, when it's early enough and, I can watch the sunrise and, these kind of thing. And I think that's a really great way to start the day.
Yeah. And out of interest, what role does self-worth have in prioritization of self? Do you have conversations about your clients around self-worth?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And on that, and with high achieving women, I can think of a client, I remember having that conversation with her when I asked her that question, straight away she was like, "Oh no, Anna, I'm just so confident." She's a lawyer. "I'm so confident, Anna. You know what I mean? Self-worth, self-love. I'm just on top of my A game." And I remember saying to her, I said, "Straight away, you went for the hat, the lawyer hat. I'm talking about you. Just leave the hat on that side. Just
Mm,
leave it for a second. I'm talking to you as you." And then, that's where it was like, "Oh, well, yeah, uh, yeah, it's another story, Anna, and
yeah.
you know what I mean? That's really, that's why it's because otherwise it can be really easy. And when I say hide, not in a negative way, but to hide behind, our job. And on that aspect, yeah, we can be on top of our A game, feeling really confident and everything like this. But once we leave that on the side, then what is left? How do we feel about just ourselves? And that is a really different story.
Yeah, I went through a similar period of sort of self-discovery when I realized I was like, "Why am I really confident in the gym?" Like, put me in any sort of gym
Mm.
environment, and I'm confident I can hold my own, and I'm cool talking with people, anything like that, and I realized because confidence to me equals competence. If I'm competent at something, if I know I'm good at it, I'm confident in my ability, then I'll have a really high sense of self-worth. But take me out of the gym and put me in an environment where I'm potentially around strangers who I don't know and I can't lean into one of my strengths or anything like that. I realized I was really unconfident. And then I was like, wow, maybe I'm not a confident person. I'm just confident in particular areas of my life. And wow, there's an opportunity to really build myself up in other areas.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think at some stage, there is that, misconception, misunderstanding, which is it's not because, we want to achieve a lot, we have goals and everything like this, that on some other aspects, we can't be beginners. But once we reach the point where we have the competence, you know what I mean, going back to being a beginner, no, it's not pleasant. No, it's not. But that's where, even before reaching there, where we are, we started here. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's where it can get a bit tricky, having the feeling, oh, I'm gonna have to be a beginner again, where I'm gonna stay in my comfort zone when I feel I've got the knowledge and the competence and all of that, because that becomes, my zone of, you know, change where I feel the best.
I was just thinking of my example and I was like, where I'm not feeling confident is, going out and mingling with the group of people I don't know because I'm like, how do you start conversations with these people? Like, I don't know them. What do I have in common? And it's like needing to put yourself into a beginner's mindset again. I'm like, I don't like this. Like, what do I even do?
Yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely.
And so, what something that comes to mind when talking about prioritization is also boundaries. And I think people have particular connotations about boundaries. When they hear the word boundaries, typically it's not something good. Go, I have a boundary here. People go, that's really hard and rigid and it doesn't feel good. What what is your relationship with boundaries and how do you have conversations about boundaries when it comes to your clients?
Oh, I love the word, absolutely, because for me, we can't really live without it. Once again, it took me a while. And when we talk about that, I always give that example, even to my clients. Uh, you know, it's short story. A good girlfriend of mine last year, we met in Australia. She went back to France. And then in October last year, she calls me and says, oh, babe, I'm coming next month. I want to see you. I'm coming next month to Australia and I'm going to spend, like 3, 4 weeks with you. And in my mind, that's where I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Oof, that sounds completely overwhelmed by the news, it's just like amazing. So it took me, so it was through messages. And then I was like, no, I can't. Two options here. I could have said, yes, amazing, babe. I just want to see you. It's going to be great, even though I wasn't in that mindset at all. Or then it was like, listen, I appreciate the idea that, you want to see me. I miss you too. But right now, it's not working for me. It's not a good time. But if you want to come, we need to find a way next year when it's going to work for both of us. I didn't mention, I didn't say to her, you crossed my boundaries. You know what I mean? You don't respect me. You. Do you know what I mean? Even though that's how
Yeah.
I felt in the moment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I didn't even use these words because I was like, it's not going to bring anything to the conversation except her feeling maybe bad and having an impact on our friendship. But I'm still going to
Mm,
stand for what I believe. Once
mm,
again, it wasn't because otherwise I could have been nice saying, yes, sure, come. Or then I was kind enough to say,
mm.
no, not working for me, but we can find something that is going to work for the two of us.
Yeah. I love that approach, finding something that works mutually beneficial, especially when it comes to friends and family. They're the ones that I find people struggle most creating boundaries with because you feel like you have this sense of obligation to your friends, especially family as well. And so, how do you know when you need to put a boundary in place? What are some signs, whether it's some thoughts you're having, some visceral reactions that you're getting? What are some signs that you need to put in place a boundary?
When straight away in my body it doesn't sit well, and that's where with self-care and having time to think and to pay attention to myself, now I do know the signals, and when I feel something in my body, it's just like, well, no, something it's not feeling well with me. It just means it's not working. And I remember sharing on social media, it was a couple of weeks back now. It's like, you know how we say yes right away when we don't even have time to think because we feel like we have to say yes. I say to my clients, I say, pause for a second, just receive the information. And if you're not sure straight away, say it. I need time, if there is a deadline, of course you're not gonna, wait for, a week to give an answer. But, say it, well, thank you for sharing, thank you for telling me or whatever that is, but I just need a bit of time to think about it. For instance, can I get back to you? That's these kind of things as well.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission. You don't have to give an answer straight away. And even less a yes, even if, in your body, you can feel or your mind or whatever it works for you, wherever you feel it, a yes straight away. That's why I would say step back. But to step back, once again, it gives yourself permission to do it. Mindfulness, everything we just talked about before.
Yeah, you raise such a good point because when we react immediately, like I know people are rewarded and celebrated for being able to act fast and make quick decisions. A challenge with that sometimes though is people react and move forward based on an initial reaction. It might be out of fight, flight, or freeze. It might not be actually the desired reaction that they want to take. So if you suddenly go, yeah, of course, that's fine. I'd love to have you here without taking a moment to go, actually, is this what I want? Like give yourself the gift of time
Yeah.
because that's when you're going to be able to have those more rational thoughts, the ones that aren't the trigger thoughts, the ones that are based in the fight, flight, or fright response.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then but it's even more for like another conversation almost. But I do believe we don't necessarily know how to communicate properly, without the blaming or pointing fingers.
Yes.
And that is huge as well, because for instance, with my girlfriend, I didn't use the word you did this or you did that or you made me feel that way. And really, I shared for what it was, with where I was at in my life. And pretty much that was it. And
Yeah.
that it's a really big part as well of how to share our boundaries, and standing up for them. And also without feeling guilty, because I don't think, and I didn't feel that I was mean. I don't think there was, a lack of respect. I don't think there was
Yeah.
anything part of my message. Do you know what I mean? But still, it was
Yeah.
there and it was clear. And I think
Yeah.
that's
And
where
I
as well, with that aspect comes the communication part.
100%. And I think what I'm hearing in that too is, as long as you're responding in a way that feels true to you, regardless if you do that and do all the seemingly right things, like treat someone with respect and share how it feels for you, you will never control another human being. You can't control how they're going to receive
No,
that message. So you need to be happy with what you've done because you don't have control of the outcome. You at least
absolutely.
need to be happy with what you've contributed to that situation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's absolutely right. Mm-mm.
And so, what else would you say to a woman who is struggling to prioritize self care at the moment, especially those ambitious women who are just doing all the things, juggling all the responsibilities, spinning all the plates? What would you say to them right now?
I would say start low and start, with it's all about baby steps. It's all about that, because for high achieving women, when we talk about self-care, they are at the bottom, of the mountain. They look up and it feels like it's overwhelming. It's too much. Once again, I don't know where to start. Don't want to be a beginner. I'm just going to avoid it. Well, on the other hand, if you look down and you see a stone in front of you, well, that's not the same story. You can go through that first stone. You know what I mean? That first step. So for me, it's all about
Yeah,
that.
100%.
If it starts with, I don't know. For me, the morning routine, I always say I love it because at least in the morning, you're in control. You know exactly what's going to happen. Late afternoon, you never know. Late meeting, a kid is sick. Your partner needs something, mom's family, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Name it. I think we all been there. At least in the morning, you are in control, before starting the craziness of the day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
something
100%.
something simple, it can be, Same with meditation. For me, it's a great thing. And I hear plenty of women saying, Anna, it's not for me. And I'm like, you should have seen me when I started meditating. 1 minute. It was the longest minute of my life. I was like, it's long. My mind is going everywhere and I'm thinking and this and that. We need to start somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Meditation, it's mindfulness, it's go for a walk, take the pet. If you don't have one, just go on your own. Do whatever it is, wake up 5 minutes early and just enjoy your coffee on the deck while the house is quiet. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we do. As long as it brings us that feeling of, you know what, I'm filling my own cup. For me, that's, if it gives you that feeling, well, that's a win. And everyone loves a win.
That's beautiful. And you're right. Everyone does love a win. And I think that's something that I work with my clients too, is I go, hey, what's something really actionable you can do? What's that first step? And they go, oh, this. And I'm like, how confident do you feel in your ability to do that? Go, oh, it's a bit big. I'm like, okay, what's a small thing? What's the smallest thing that you could possibly do to take one step towards your goal? And they're like, oh, it seems so silly. I'm like, don't care, because it starts with that small step. You build the confidence and trust in yourself that you can do this, and it snowballs from there, to your point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so on that note, what is a really actionable step that high achieving women can do in the next 24 to 48 hours to start their journey, or potentially make more progress on their journey, to be able to prioritize themselves and create the guilt-free time to do that?
I would say with exactly what we just said now, it's like start tomorrow morning. It's not like next week.
No.
It's not like, when we'll have a break or whatever. It's like tomorrow morning. What can you do that, you've been thinking about it for a while, and you know that if you do it, you will have a feeling that it's filling up your cup. As simple as that. But starts tomorrow morning. You listen to the podcast and then you're like, okay, once again, and I don't know for you, but I know my mind, straight away, if it was me, when I started my journey, it's just like the resistance is coming into place. Oh, yeah, but you sure? Oh, we don't really have time. And now we'll start really next week. Like, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. Do you know what? The resistance
Yes.
into something new. If you feel it, if you listen to that and you feel it, please remember that's normal. We all been there, just acknowledge it, say thank you, inner self-critic. You want to contact me, I can hear you. That's fantastic. But right now I don't need you. I'm just going to try that thing, that new thing for a while. It can't do any harm anyway. And we will see from there.
I love it, especially the time frame of the morning. I get up early in the morning because it is uninterrupted time for me too. So if that means, to those listening, to do that activity, you need to set your alarm 5 minutes earlier tomorrow morning, then do that right now. Set that alarm on your clock for 5 minutes earlier and let us know how you go. Well, thank you so much, Anna, for your time today and for sharing all of your expertise. If the listeners are keen to learn more about the wonderful work that you do, where can they find you?
On Instagram. These days, that's the best way to find me, to connect with me. I share a fair bit on the platform, and I think it's a really good way, as I said, to connect, through, comments or, the messages and everything like this. So on Instagram.
Amazing. And I'll put those details in the show notes below. But thank you so much, Anna, for your time today. It's been such a pleasure to have a chat with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was amazing.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I hope this was helpful. If you thought of someone while listening to this podcast, I would be so grateful if you could share this episode with them. While you're doing that, please also take a moment to leave a review on the podcast if you haven't yet already. It takes less than a minute and it means so much to me and helps this podcast to reach more people just like you. Thank you so much for that, and I'll see you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out and achieve every dream you have, because actually, you can.